She loved him, but he was forbidden. They said love was a miracle. But in her world, love was a sin. They said fate was kind. But when fate brought her him, it brought fire and ruin in the same breath. This is the story of Amara, the governor's daughter, and Rowan, the man she was never supposed to love. A story whispered in the corners of an old city by the sea, where loyalty was law and love was treason, because she loved him. But he was forbidden. The girl behind the iron gate. Amara grew up in a house that never slept, a mansion built on the cliffs of Verdun Harbor, its windows forever glowing with political banquets, soldiers' boots echoing in the marble halls, and her father's commands filling every corner. She was the daughter of Governor Darius Hale, a man whose word could raise armies or destroy families. He ruled with order, with pride, and with fear, and yet in all his power, there was one thing he could never control: his daughter's heart. Amara was a creature of quiet rebellion, the kind who read banned poetry under her sheets, who lingered by the harbor fence just to feel the sea breeze against her face. The people said she had her mother's eyes, kind, unguarded, and dangerous. Every evening, after the city curfew bell rang, she would climb to the top of the garden wall to watch the world she was never allowed to touch. And that's where she first saw him, the boy from the docks. Rowan was not of her world. He worked the docks, unloading crates for soldiers who would never learn his name. His hands were rough, his clothes salt-stained, his life shaped by the tide. But he had something that no one in the governor's palace did: freedom. He laughed with the sea wind, raced the gulls along the shore, and spoke to the waves as if they were friends. To Amara, watching from her walled garden, he was the most alive thing she'd ever seen. One night when the fog rolled in from the sea, she saw him again, closer this time. He was helping an old fisherman repair a torn sail by the lantern light. The glow touched his face and she saw his eyes for the first time. Storm gray, wild, and when he looked up, he saw her too. Their eyes met through the mist. A single heartbeat, and the world stopped moving. That moment was supposed to end there. But it didn't, because he smiled, and she didn't look away. Letters through the fence. The next night he came back. He didn't speak, just placed something through the fence, a small folded note. "You shouldn't look so sad when you have the whole world watching you." It was reckless, stupid, impossible, but she wrote back, "The whole world watches me, and still I've never been seen." From that night on, they wrote every evening. Letters hidden in cracks of stone, carried by the wind and the daring of two hearts that should have known better. He told her about the ocean, how it changes moods, how it never stays still. She told him about her prison, golden, perfect, suffocating. Sometimes she would hear her father's guards walking nearby, and her heart would pound so loud she swore Rowan could hear it through the fence. He never asked her name, and she never asked his. It didn't matter, because somehow they already knew each other, the night they met. It was a night that smelled like rain. She slipped out of her house wearing her mother's old cloak, the one with the silver thread. Her hands shook as she climbed over the gate for the first time in her life, and there he was, waiting by the old lamppost like he knew she'd come. Neither spoke for a long time. They just looked at each other, the governor's daughter, the dock worker's son, standing in a world that would never allow them to stand together. Finally, he whispered, "I thought you were a dream." And she laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was real. They walked along the empty docks until the sun began to rise, sharing stories, fears, promises that had no place in daylight. By morning, they were in love, and by nightfall they were doomed. The discovery. For weeks, they met in secret, at the edge of the sea where the waves erased their footprints. But secrets never stay buried. One morning, her father's advisor, cold, sharp-eyed, placed a letter on the governor's desk. A note taken from the cracks of the garden wall. Amara's handwriting, Governor Hale's hand trembled as he read it. Not with sorrow, but with rage. That evening, the gates of the mansion were locked. Every servant dismissed, every guard doubled. Amara was confined to her room, windows nailed shut. Her father entered once, silent, furious, trembling. "You've brought shame to this house," he said. "Do you even know who that boy is?" She didn't answer. "He's a rebel. His people defy the crown. They burn ships. They kill soldiers, but she didn't believe him. Rowan's hands built ship. They didn't burn them. His heart was too gentle for hate. Still, the message was clear. He was forbidden, and the next night, he was gone. The sea takes what it loves. The docks were silent for days. Then word came where a storm had struck offshore. A smuggler's ship had gone down, no survivors. Alara's world collapsed in on itself. She refused to eat, refused to speak. At night, she would sneak to the window and stare at the same sea that had taken her mother and now, her only love. But one night, a year later, something strange happened. The fog rolled in thick as milk, swallowing the cliffs and the city below. And through it, a sound, a whistle. Soft, familiar. Alara ran barefoot through the rain to the harbor wall, and there, in the fog, a light, swinging gently. A lantern, the kind Rowan always carried. Her heart nearly stopped. She called his name, no answer, but the light flickered once, twice, then vanished into the mist. The sailors said it was a ghost light, the spirit of a drowned man calling his love home. She didn't care. She followed. By morning, the fog was gone, and so was she. The legend of the Lady of the Fog. They say if you walk by Verdun Harbor on a moonless night, you can still see her, a woman in a silver-threaded cloak, standing at the end of the dock looking out to sea. Her lantern never burns out. Her eyes are pale and waiting, and if you listen closely, you can hear a man's voice whisper her name through the waves. Some call her the Lady of the Fog. Others say she became the guardian of the drowned, guiding lost souls back to shore. But the old sailors know the truth. She loved him, but he was forbidden. And the sea, jealous and endless, took them both. The lost letter. Centuries later, during the reconstruction of Verdun Harbor, a diver found something wedged deep in the coral. A small rusted tin box. Inside, a single parchment sealed in wax, miraculously preserved. The handwriting was unmistakably old, yet graceful. If love is a crime, then I will die a criminal. The world may forget our names, but the sea will remember. I go to meet him now, not in defiance, but in faith. For the sea that took him will carry me too. Alara. The letter is now displayed in the Verdun Maritime Museum, beside a cracked lantern and a ring made from sea glass. And every year, on the anniversary of that storm, people gather by the cliffs, lighting lanterns and setting them afloat across the dark waves. Some say they've seen two silhouettes standing in the mist, a man and a woman, hand in hand watching the lights drift away. Love stories like theirs are never forgotten, because they remind us that even when the world forbids love, the heart still finds a way to whisper. If this story moved you, don't let it fade like fog on the tide. Like, comment, and subscribe, so their legend can sail a little farther and their voices can echo a little longer across the sea. Because some loves aren't meant to end. They're meant to live forever in the stories we tell.